Chapter 20. Heavenly Palace Raid. A short salutation to scare the gods. There was a confusion of twinkling silver light, and Shilian's unthinking reaction was to block with his hands. Roya, who was always wrapped around his wrist, would attack automatically if dire circumstances required it. Yet, not a single silver butterfly attacked him. Instead, they flew around him to furiously charge at the two who had been fighting just moments before. Fengxin and Muqing had suffered before at the hands of those wrath butterflies. They knew how powerful they were, and didn't dare to be careless. In only a blink, they both raised their hands at the same time and cried, "Shield!" Millions of silver butterflies surged toward them, flapping their wings to summon blasting winds. But there was an invisible wall blocking them. The butterflies smashed against it like a tempest, the battering of hail, and white lights flared from friction with fiery sparks. The two had cast a spell to protect themselves, but even against a magical shield, the wrath butterflies were forceful and relentless, as crazed as moths confronting a flame. Despite mounting the spiritual defense, the two were pushed back by the relentless barrage of butterflies. A moment of carelessness would give the enemy the upper hand. If they didn't raise their shield, the butterflies would continue to push closer. If they did, there'd still be no chance for them to grab for their weapons before the swarm overtook them. Both Fengxin and Muqing mentally groaned, gritting their teeth to hang on. Fengxin stole a glance and saw Shilian was still standing there right where he had been, with his head lowered. Not knowing what was wrong, he shouted to him, "Your Highness, be careful! Don't just stand there! Come behind the shield!" And yet, when Shilian turned his head, not a single hair upon it had been harmed. He frowned. Huh? The two looked closely, and almost spat blood on the spot from their furious shock. Shilian was staring at them in blank confusion, a wrath butterfly held in one hand. Earlier, when the butterflies were gusting through like the wild winds, there was one that was a little slow and couldn't keep up with the rest. As it flapped arduously in front of Shilian, he had a simple thought. That poor little silver butterfly was working really hard, but it couldn't fly anymore, and so he unthinkingly extended his palm just beneath it. Wings flapping happily, that silver butterfly had landed on his palm, and now wouldn't leave. Both Fengxin and Muqing popped veins on their foreheads. "Don't touch that thing with your hand! Don't you know what it is? It's dangerous!" Just then, Shilian felt a tightening on his wrist. Someone had grabbed hold of him and pulled hard. His entire body was drawn into the darkness beyond the door. Although he was shrouded in darkness, he didn't feel any alarm or anxiety. This darkness was like a layer of gentle armor. Not only did he not sense any danger, it actually somehow calmed him down. Even if the person within the darkness hadn't shown himself, with those silver butterflies, was it so hard to guess? Muqing cried in disbelief. "What audacity! You dare come cause mischief in the heavenly court? What impudence!" A voice laughed. "We're all the same. Weren't you heavenly officials of the upper court equally impudent in my territory?" Even though Shilian already knew who had grabbed him, he was still a little startled to hear that familiar voice so close by. Fengxin shouted, "Hua Cheng, the heavenly emperor is here in the heavenly court. You let him go." Hua Cheng clicked his tongue. "Do either of you have the ability to make me?" With that taunting question, the giant doors closed heavily with a bang. Shilian sensed a hand gripping his wrist firmly, guiding him swiftly along. It was black as pitch all around them, and the silver bells on those black boots chimed in his ears. The ground beneath their feet was uneven. The doors hadn't led them to the bright, open great roads of the heavenly capital, but rather to a remote mountain valley. Hua Cheng must have used the teleportation array to connect the front entrance of the Palace of Shenle to this mountain valley. But how did he do it? One would surely have to be a heavenly official to be in a position to do that, no? Shilian was about to speak when a voice exploded in his ear. "Your Highness, where are you?" It was Fengxin. His voice was by his ear, but his person was not. He had shouted from within the communication array. Shilian's eardrums hurt from the noise and were further blasted by the terrified voices of several other heavenly officials. "What's going on, General? Did something happen?" Muqing also entered the communication array. "Bad news. Where's Lingwen? Report to the Emperor. Shilian ran off." He usually spoke gently and courteously, but now there was a flustered twinge to his voice. Lingwen reacted immediately. "What? I'll go to the Palace of Shenle to take a look." An official cried in shock. The His Highness ran off? Wasn't he detained in the palace of Shenle? Shi Qingshang entered the communication array. I just saw a bunch of junior officials of the middle court guarding the palace. You can only enter but not leave. How come he could run off? Fengxian exclaimed, What do you mean, ran off? Stop adding to the confusion. Well, he ran off with someone, Mu Qing said. He was kidnapped, Fengxian clarified angrily. Your Highness, can you still hear us? Where are you right now? In that moment, everyone was speaking with raised voices and everyone was demanding answers. Once Ling Wen confirmed the palace of Shenle was empty, she began searching for Xilian's present location, and Shi Qingshang distributed further flurries of merits. The communication array was thrown into complete confusion, everyone trying to talk at once. It was so chaotic that Xilian couldn't get a word in at all. He drew in a deep breath, but just as he was about to match the shouting and tell everyone to calm down, Hua Cheng suddenly turned around and reached over with 2 fingers. Those cold digits gently touched his temple, and Hua Cheng chuckled. Long time no see. How is everyone doing? With the soft touch of his 2 fingers, Hua Cheng entered the heavenly communication array through Xilian. That nonchalant greeting was heard not just by Xilian beside him, but by every flustered heavenly official within the communication array. Instantly, they all fell into a dead silence. There was a silent uproar. No wonder. Such arrogance could only come from that person. Hua Cheng continued, I don't know if you missed me, but I haven't thought about any of you at all. There certainly were many heavenly officials in the heavens who secretly thought about him every day. But when they heard Hua Cheng say he didn't think about them at all, they began reciting scriptures to pray that the man would continue not thinking about them going forward. Then Hua Cheng snickered gleefully. However, I've been fairly free recently. If anyone is feeling bored and wants to chat with me, I welcome them with open arms. Given the circumstances, the meaning of that statement was more than obvious. If anyone is brave enough to give chase, they'll be the next ones I challenge. It was a challenge they were certain to lose. He would surely wipe the floors with them. Was that not a blatant threat? The communication array had previously been boiling with excitement, and some martial gods were even proactively ready to heed the call, prepared to give chase. However, with only a short salutation from Hua Cheng, all such passion disappeared. No one wanted to be remembered by Hua Cheng, and so they all pretended they weren't present, even while their ears remained closely tuned in to follow this development. At the same time, their minds were rolling with stormy waves. Such impertinence from that crimson rain-sought flower, to come all the way to the upper court just to kidnap someone. And not just anyone, but the laughingstock of the 3 realms who was already in hot water. Silence befell the communication array. Only Fengxian was still swearing angrily. Hua Cheng removed his fingers as soon as he was done speaking. Xilian blurted out, Sanlang. Hua Cheng, however, let go of his hand. Don't mind them, he said to Xilian. Come with me. His voice was low, the emotion behind it hard to discern. Yet the way he let go of Xilian's wrist was swift, almost like he'd been shaken off. Xilian was immediately reminded of the first time they met, and how he had evaded his touch. Xilian froze on the spot. At first he had wanted to ask Hua Cheng what had happened, why he had appeared so suddenly. He vaguely thought maybe Hua Cheng had known about his house arrest and had come to his rescue, so when he called out Sanlang a moment before, he was secretly a little happy. But with the way Hua Cheng had just shaken off his touch, Xilian abruptly realized, how could he think Hua Cheng would come to rescue him? He had just burned down Paradise Manor and the armory. Wasn't it more plausible that Hua Cheng had come knocking to settle the score or for payback? Even if, in the end, the reason Paradise Manor had burned the way it did was because Shi Qingshang fanned the flames, he was the one who kindled the fire. The pair walked, one behind the other. The more Xilian thought, the guiltier he felt. Sanlang, I'm sorry, he apologized in spite of himself. Hua Cheng suddenly paused in his step. Why are you apologizing? The reason I went to Ghost City was to investigate the missing Earthmaster. I didn't tell you the full truth, so that counts as a lie. And you treated me with the utmost hospitality, but I burnt down your Paradise Manor and the armory full of your treasures. I am so very sorry. Hua Cheng didn't speak. Xilian also knew that very sorry really didn't amount to much, and added, But I expect I'll be banished soon. After I descend to the mortal realm, I'll definitely think of a way to repay you and see if I can— Why should you have to repay me? Hua Cheng interrupted. His tone was a little harsh, as if he couldn't listen anymore, and he abruptly turned around. Did you forget that my blade wounded your arm? I hurt you, not the other way around. Why should you have to repay me? Shilian had almost forgotten the injury of his right arm. He was a little taken aback before he remembered. My arm? My arm's fine, it doesn't hurt. It'll be better soon. Besides, it's only like this because I charged in and struck back against you. You aren't to blame in the first place. Hua Cheng stared at him hard, his left eye unusually bright. Shilian noticed that he seemed to be shaking. A brief moment later, he realized it wasn't Hua Cheng who was shaking, but the scimitar emming at his waist. That silver scimitar hung over the robes was shaking non-stop. The eye upon it, shaped by silver lines, was also quivering. If it were the eye of a child, then that child was clearly bawling. And that is chapter 20.